all been talking about our entertainment being censored at the hands of credit card companies. Nintendo, Valve, and Itch.io all put out statements on how they had to bend the knee to payment.
I don't think any company should bend the knee to payment processors. Especially censorship of something that if you're a grown adult, if you want to buy porn, buy porn. I don't give a shit if you buy porn. You are a grown-ass man. Once you're a grown-ass man, do whatever you want with your money. Okay? Do whatever you want.
Processors, but Itch.io took it a step further. They de-indexed all of the adult content on their platform, and that means that they hid over 20,000 games from view, and now they're talking about how they have to take it on a case-by-case basis, and they are going to have to individually review every single game, and they are getting absolutely wrecked for this decision. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community and my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I understand that
I think you should absolutely support Vara Dark. She does great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. I found her recently on Rumble and just have been using her for news and gaming lately. She's been nothing but informational, so definitely check out whatever she said.
Right now, the internet in general is going through a big purge by governments. Governments are really trying to control what we are seeing, what we are consuming. I mean, all of this coincides with the UK's Online Safety Act going into effect, which I will cover in another video. It's just a lot of information that I have to compile. But basically, it means that platforms that allow users to share content such as Twitter/X are now required to enforce an age verification system in an attempt to prevent minors from accessing potentially sensitive content, which I think is rich given the UK is pushing this, and the UK just lowered their voting age to 16. So they're saying in one case 16's a kid, and in another case 16's a full-blown adult, but I'll digress.
They're lowering the age to 16 because they want minors to vote, because minors will vote Democrat because they're stupid. That's just how it works. Statistically, Republicans and conservatives are much older folk than younger men. Like, I'm Gen Z, but, you know, I went and got 4 degrees. Different scenario. But yeah, most people, my contemporaries, are mostly retarded, I would say. Yeah.
Yes, we just had seen Itch.io go ahead with de-indexing all of their adult NSFW content from their browse and search pages, but they took it a step further by recently saying they have to take it on a case-by-case basis, which, sure, in theory is a good idea, because that means that games will actually have to be looked over and they can't falsely be flagged, but on the flip side, that means it's going to be significantly longer wait times for developers to actually get their content on the platform or to get it indexed again. So, Itch.io adheres to strict card processing network rules prohibiting non-consensual content, and there's a list here. It's not...
Again, I don't think card companies should have any right to tell you what you can and cannot watch. Literally, it is an embarrassment to everyone for them to be like, oh, well, you know, porn, yeah, that's bad. Revenge porn, hidden cam, yeah, you can't buy that. Why? If it's all fake and it's all video game, spend money however you want. You made it. It's your right to spend it as you desire.
Not particularly surprising, given this is the same exact content that Steam has recently been targeting. Basically anything that is non-consensual, characters or themes that are barely legal. Steam over the past couple of years has been heavily targeting high school settings and university settings. One of my first videos on the channel 6 years ago talking about censorship actually had to do with this. Steam had started really heavily banning high school and university settings then because they said character ages were questionable, even if developers said they were clearly over 18. Things like force-related, revenge porn fetishes, all these different things.
Clearly, if it's a high school setting and it's an anime, are they really going to be 18? You can say they're going to be 18, but we all know the fact that they're not. But it's also like... does it really affect you? Does this matter? Does this matter to you? Like, do you care what other people do with their free time? I don't. Until they're right in front of me and I have to deal with them, I don't care what they do with their free time.
Are
or what
no
games
longer
they play.
allowed. They're unable to support the sale of any works containing to these topics. They also said it's almost impossible to come up with an exhaustive list of unacceptable products to sell, so often we have to take content reviews one at a time. This is where I really have a problem, because they are basically saying, oh, we can't put in the work and effort to create a list, and that's why we have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Meaning, one day they could ban a game that is in a university setting and characters are romantically involved, and the next day they could allow it. So it's going to become extremely inconsistent. And that means that it's going to be very hard for developers to know while they're developing their game if it's going to be allowed on a platform like this. Platforms need to have...
No. That's not the case. If you're making porn that has, like, I don't know, Sex with the Devil was one on Steam. If you're making something like that, you know it's gonna be banned. Like, we all know what's gonna be banned and what isn't. It's just how far they push it in that direction. I think many developers are gonna be more concerned with how far they push it, like Neptunia being banned off of the Nintendo Switch. That's an embarrassment. That game's hysterical. There's no porn in that. Questionable themes, sure, but it's all for jokes. So it really depends on what it is.
Have clear and concise guidelines for their content creators, and of course they don't here. If an issue arises with your account that isn't already covered by our policy, then we will contact you and share what options you may have. If you've collected money while in violation of these terms, we may be forced to refund or freeze all pending transactions, as accounts that are in violation of our terms are not eligible for payouts. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who say it's really not that big of a deal. I don't want sex content on the internet, right?
It's a big deal. It's a big deal because a company is telling you what you can and cannot buy. Not a federal government. A company is telling you what you can and cannot buy.
I don't think that people should be allowed to consume this content. Boo-hoo, cry me river and float upstream, okay? I am anti-censorship for a reason, and it's not particularly about the content that I care about. I personally would not consume sex simulator games. I'm fine with there being sex in games like, I don't know, The Witcher, because that just has to do with the plot, but I wouldn't buy a sex sim game, though I do believe it should be allowed to exist for adults. If it's rated properly, then that target audience, which would be adults, should be allowed to consume it. It is fiction. We are talking about entertainment. We are not talking about real people here, and these digital acts do not actually harm anybody in the real world. But there are hundreds to thousands of people over on the Itch.io boards who are furious over this decision. It's the same on X, where people are talking about Itch and Valve. People are just unhappy with the fact that content is being censored, and unfortunately, this could be a very slippery slope. I don't like to be doom and gloom, but if this content is being censored right now, right, it could evolve into just any content with sex, any content with romantic relationships, any content that could be deemed overly sexual or violent and bloody and gory. Like, anything could be censored if this ends up becoming the norm. So there are tons of threads talking about adult and erotic tag games gone. All of the games in the erotic and adult tag sections gone. All of a sudden, what happened? People talking about how all of them were de-indexed. Some pages may receive a content notice. But it's a very, very long thread of people talking about how unhappy they are. And sure, I understand that Itch is trying to keep their platform afloat, but on the flip side,
I think if enough people said, you cannot enforce these rules because it is our freedom, to the government would make it so these companies can't say what you can and cannot purchase. It's that people don't want to say it with this because it is a private matter, such as sex or porn or whatever, and that's why. It's like an embarrassment to say. And they don't want to lose brownie points with the women. And these women, they're using this type of logic to get things across that they don't want to see. It is the ultimate Karen maneuver.
It's still unacceptable, and I know that they're only partially to blame, and the other part of the blame goes on payment processors, but none of them are innocent here. There are a lot of people talking about what Collective Shout is and how they're a group firmly known for their conservative and anti-pornography stances, and while it attempts to present itself as a nonpartisan organization, it is predominantly associated with conservative values and ideologies, which, keep in mind, J.K. Rowling would fall under this same category. That's why there are people who call J.K. Rowling a TERF, because she says a man is a man and a woman is a woman. It's the same thing with Collective Shout, though at the end of the day, Collective Shout is not a good organization. So don't hear the word conservative and think, oh my gosh, actually, maybe they can be saved or something. I've seen a couple of people say that online, which is just wild to me. New content guidelines dropped. They are bad. Continuing the theme of making changes and hoping no one will notice, new content guidelines dropped, and they're not good. Things that are now prohibited, non-consensual content, and as pointed out by somebody on Blue Sky, note that it says contains. That's broad. Under these terms, most of the A Song of Ice and Fire series would be banned. That's what I've been saying. There are so many pieces of content that would be banned. I mean, hell, even things like 1984 would be banned. We'd have A Song of Ice and Fire banned. We'd have The Realm of the Elderlings banned. We'd have Dune banned. We'd have Wheel of Time banned. Anything that has to do with underage characters.
I get what they're saying. They're being open because it's a legal thing. They're covering their ass with it. If they wouldn't, I think they would have shrunk it down to just certain porn games, like what Steam did, with certain porn games. They don't really, really want to cover their all surrounding with this. They really want to limit it, but they can't because they don't want to be called out for not doing something.
Could be banned. Anything that has to do with these adult themes could be banned. It is not good. That's pretty deeply disappointing. Even forced disclaimers would be whatever, but setting basis for removing mythologies they don't like, ancient Greek or modern like Christianity, as well as books or games like the ones mentioned.
Well, they got rid of
mouthwashing, for example, pretty grim, not exactly forgets, although most of it would go over their heads.
Don't let us not forget that recently payment processors banned a manga website. You can't have your little anime comic books either. It's going to get to a point where they just start banning everyone and people are going to get radicalized and pissed. Where's my shit?
Anyway, but without question, not something that should be remotely restricted. Yeah, I can agree with you completely. It looks like they're just starting to update their new terms as far as I can see, but holy fuck, I don't like where this is going, especially since they state it's almost impossible to come up with an exhaustive list of unacceptable products to sell, so often we have to take content reviews one at a time. So yeah, one day you can get one employee that okays something, and another day that an employee bans something, and I'm sure that there are going to be cases.
I'm doing good. We're doing reaction videos today because Wu Chang ain't going to be here until Monday, and then we're going to do a Souls-like that was voted on because people want to see me suffer. But there is a lot here. These are all videos sent in to me by literally the audience. But how you doing? Hope you're doing good.
Is to get around the payment processor, because the payment processors aren't looking at this on a case-by-case basis either. They're just assuming, right, that itch.io is doing their due diligence, that they're doing a good enough job. If we take a look at...
I do not think payment processors should have any right to tell you what you can and cannot buy. It is your freedom. If you want to look at porn, you want to buy some weird-ass porn, I mean... I don't know why you're buying a sex game in the first place, but you should have the right to do it, okay? You earn the money to do that. Do it. I don't think the payment processors should really give you any reason not to do that. It is crazy to have them assume that they can't be allowed to buy something like that. That is a crazy thing.
Their X page, there are thousands and thousands of comments on their posts saying, what the actual F? This is ridiculous. Lots of people linking the MasterCard Visa activist petition. It says, tell MasterCard, Visa, and activist groups stop controlling what we can watch, read, or play. It's currently sitting at 18,000 signatures, so I will link it down below. Take the couple of minutes, sign it. All of the signatures do help, but F Visa, F MasterCard, F Collective Shout. This is why Collective Shout went private. It's not that they are backing down on their stance. It's not like they've realized the wrong that they've done. It's just that so many people hate them online right now, and so many people are furious at them. I don't necessarily think it's really their fault that this has happened either. Like, sure, maybe they reported this content and reported the platforms to the payment processors, but the payment processors were clearly going to push for this regardless of their involvement or not. F puritanical payment processors. All my homies hate puritanical payment processors. Just think that that's so funny. You destroyed your own site to heed actual P's whose only interest is to destroy entertainment. Reminder that Collective Shout is a radical religious at this point since before Gamergate 1. They were pushing for GTA, Detroit Becoming Human. Hell, I'm surprised they didn't go after like The Witcher or Cyberpunk.
Don't go after GTA.
They changed their target to social media instead of video games because they thought that was going to gain them more relevancy quickly. But these people don't care about protecting women or girls, or I am particularly shocked given the state of the internet right now. There is so much censorship going on, and this is why I will continue to cover this. While yes, it is not just itch.io's fault, the way and I know that this is going to be a very big blow for indie developers, and I just hope over the next couple of weeks Itch continues to address this, but in a much clearer and conciser way. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I do not agree with them at all. I don't agree with them being able to block porn apps or anything from those types of purchases. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. We're going to move on to the next video here. But I do have to say, I do not agree, do not support this. I do not think that a payment processor should be able to determine what you cannot purchase and what you can and cannot see. That is crazy talk.